Summary. Love can flourish, even in desperate situations. Chapter 8 Affection. Hunter groaned as he awakened. He felt like absolute shit. His head was pounding, his mind felt foggy, and his throat was sore. He swallowed hard, wincing in pain and tasting blood. Looking at the door of the shelter, he noticed it was still closed and locked. If he strained his ears, Hunter could still hear the soft pitter-patter of rain outside. He sighed and tried to stand, only to remember the predicament he and Survivor fell asleep in. Twisting his head as far back as he could, he caught a glimpse of the white slugcat's head nuzzled into his neck, a soft smile on his face. Hunter decided it was a better idea to just lie still and let him rest. He needed it after what had happened during the last cycle. Hunter sighed again, resting his chin on the shelter floor. Survivor would definitely have some questions for him after witnessing his coughing fit, and the thought of having to explain his illness made Hunter feel queasy. Never mind, actually, that was probably just nausea, another symptom to add to the growing list. Hunter felt he had been doing a good job hiding the symptoms from Survivor up until the last cycle, and a very small part of him honestly believed he had been getting better, or at least not getting worse. He scoffed. It wasn't like him to be so optimistic. Hunter didn't know exactly what ailed him, his father creator hadn't known either. Though he did try to cure Hunter, he didn't have any real medical facilities that could help. Then it came time for Hunter to disembark on this mission. It was time-sensitive and of great importance, so he had to leave immediately. When no significant harassment saw him off, Hunter thought he could see a glint of sadness in his eyes, which was impossible, considering he wasn't really able to convey feelings through advanced facial expressions. Hunter sighed. He hoped to not only complete his primary mission but also find some way to slow or completely cure his illness and perhaps return home. Home? Did he even have one anymore? If he could find his way back to NSH, maybe, but he had always been very bad with directions, and he'd traveled far to get where he was. The thought that, even after all of this was said and done, Hunter still probably wouldn't be able to go home, filled him with great sadness. Thus, he decided to abandon that line of thought and return his mind to the task at paw. Back to the topic of the illness, then. He should probably still have some time to consider what to say, but what would he tell him? The truth, maybe? Hunter hummed, wondering how that conversation would go. The illness is debilitating and constantly getting worse, and by the way, it was something I got from the moment I was created born. He could try lying, but he was really bad at that, and Survivor would see right through him. Hunter was too absorbed in his deep thoughts to notice Survivor shifting and opening his eyes. A loud yawn from the white slugcat finally snapped Hunter out of his thoughts with a startle. Noticing the movement, Survivor nuzzled back into Hunter's neck sleepily, purring loudly. "Gene morning," he muttered drowsily. Hunter closed his eyes and lowered his head to the floor, relaxing the tension in his body and purring back. "Good morning," Hunter eventually responded, wincing at how rough and scratchy his voice sounded. His voice had always been on the scratchy side, but it was even worse after the last cycle of screaming and coughing. He suppressed the urge to cough and tried to clear his throat, but it would only make his sore throat hurt more than it already did. Survivor made note of this, as Hunter could practically feel his intense gaze on the back of his head. After a moment, he suddenly felt something rough and wet slightly tugging on his fur at the back of his head. "What are you doing?" he asked, caught off guard and confused by the action. "Clean you up. Your fur is a mess," Survivor said between licks, before stopping momentarily. "You want me to stop?" It was a genuine question, asking for permission. Hunter remembered the lessons NSH had given him on the subjects of cleanliness, grooming, how to keep your coat of fur healthy, and such. While Hunter lived in his can, NSH took care of the process for him, mostly by washing him with water. Hunter frowned at the memory. He hated water and getting his coat wet in general. He had never really tried grooming himself, even if he knew it was important, and he had never thought someone else would take their time to groom him. It felt kind of nice, actually. "No, don't stop," Hunter muttered quietly, hiding his face in slight embarrassment. "It feels nice." Survivor snickered a bit before continuing the grooming process. Hunter closed his eyes and relaxed. This cycle was already starting off way better than the last one. After a while, the sound of rain outside slowly came to a stop. Any moment now, the shelter doors will open. Satisfied with his work, Survivor chirped happily before standing up and stretching. Hunter stood up as well, wincing in slight pain as he leaned down to pick his spear off the ground. He turned to Survivor with a smile. "Thanks, I needed that." Survivor turned to him, smiling wide. "No problem." It seemed he was about to say something else when he suddenly remembered something. His expression turned a bit more serious, and Hunter tensed slightly. Oh. Hunter, I almost forgot. I wanted to talk about that coughing fit last cycle." Hunter stopped smiling. There it was, the question he had been dreading. There was no easy way out of this one, huh? He fidgeted with the spear in his paws and glanced away, looking at one of the shelter walls. "Quick! Make something up, lie." Hunter lightly shook his head, ridding his head of the thought. Not only was he a bad liar, but lying to a friend, his only friend in this world, about something this serious, was messed up. Out of the corner of his eyes, Survivor looked at him incredulously and raised an eyebrow, waiting for his response. He wasn't getting out of this one by lying or playing dumb. Just as Hunter opened his mouth to explain himself, a loud noise in the shelter startled both slug cats. On instinct, Hunter moved in front of Survivor, pushing him protectively behind his body and crouching into a combative stance. A mechanical whirring sounded as the shelter's doors started opening. "Oh!" Hunter let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding and put the spear away on his back. Behind him, Survivor sighed. "Guess we should keep moving, huh?" Hunter glanced back and nodded. Survivor affixed him with a hard glare. "But we are continuing this conversation in the next shelter, got it?" Hunter shuddered. Survivor sure knew how to be scary when he had to be. Such scary behavior from someone normally as timid and peaceful as him. That's pretty cute. Hunter could feel his face heat up under the intense glare. He turned away from Survivor, gritting his teeth. "Shut up, brain." He turned back, noticing Survivor raising an eyebrow at his silence, and nodded slowly. Survivor sighed, dropped the glare completely, and smiled. "Good." He walked up next to Hunter and gestured towards the open shelter door. "After you." After leaving the shelter, Survivor pointed Hunter in the general direction of the next karma gate. Luckily, the next few tunnels and rooms they went through contained no water, garbage worms, or dangerous predators. When they entered a room with a pit surrounded by different poles, Survivor suddenly stilled for a moment. Hunter turned to look at him. "Survivor? What's wrong?" he asked, worriedly looking around the room. Did he see something dangerous? No. Hunter's quick scan of the room confirmed it was completely safe. No predators were in sight. Survivor turned to Hunter, looking nervous. "I just remembered something important." He said this before suddenly rushing into the room, jumping on a pole, and sliding downward into the pit. Hunter was startled by the sudden movement, trying his best to catch up with the other slug cat. Once at the bottom of the pit, Survivor started digging through a small pile of rubble, muttering to himself. Hunter could only make out some of the words. "Where should be put it?" Hunter walked closer, reaching a paw out towards him. "Survivor? Are you all right?" The white slug cat didn't respond. He just kept digging through the rubble until he finally stilled. "Aha! Found it!" Triumphantly, Survivor pulled his paw out of the pile, revealing a very shiny pearl. Hunter raised a brow as Survivor turned towards him, still smiling. "Okay. That's a great pearl, really shiny, but why do we need that?" he questioned. Thoroughly confused, he turned away from Survivor, ready to keep going. "It doesn't do us much good to carry pearls around. The only creatures that care for them are the..." He trailed off, slowly turning back towards Survivor, who looked back at him nervously. "Don't even tell me." Survivor: "Yes, Hunter. Please don't tell me we have to go through a scavenger toll." Survivor didn't even need to verbally respond. Hunter could see what the answer was just from his expression alone. "Yes." Survivor responded anyway, short and to the point. Immediately, Hunter wanted to turn tail and run. "Is there no other way?" he asked desperately. Hunter knew there wasn't, at least not without backtracking and wasting a lot of time. In the end, they would have to go through a goddamn scavenger toll. No. I'm sorry, Hunter. Survivor genuinely did look crushed over the fact they would have to pay the toll to move forward. Hunter felt a cold dread set deep in his gut, but there was no avoiding meeting the scavengers, so he took a deep breath in an attempt to settle his nerves. What if they know what happened last cycle? Then we deal with it, but we have to try to pass peacefully. Hunter knew Survivor was making sense, but it didn't do much to calm his nerves. Look, if any of us gets the feeling the situation is getting violent, we turn tail and run, okay? The red slug cat suddenly adopted an intense stare, tensing, and growling angrily. If it turns violent, I won't let them hurt you for something I did. Survivor paused for a moment before gently grabbing hold of Hunter's paws, the other slug cat flinching slightly at the sudden contact. I know you won't. Hunter stared into Survivor's eyes, all anger leaving him at once. His eyes are even more beautiful up close. He hesitated slightly, before leaning in and gently licking Survivor on the nose. The intention behind Hunter's lick was far from grooming, as Survivor had done earlier. His lick was affectionate, and Hunter froze up as he realized what he had just done. Survivor had also stilled, his face turning red as a tomato. Hunter guessed that if it weren't for his red coloration, he would be looking exactly the same way. What the hell was that? Well, that was inappropriate. Apologize, now. Hunter sputtered for a while before finally finding his voice. Survivor, I'm. He was, oh so rudely, interrupted by Survivor giving him a lick of his own, right on his forehead. Hunter could feel his face turn even redder than before, turning away slightly in embarrassment. Survivor giggled at the reaction, gently squeezing Hunter's paws. After a while, Hunter calmed down and could look at Survivor without melting into a puddle. As he looked into Survivor's happy eyes, all of Hunter's worries faded, and all the aches and pains of his illness took a background role in his mind. Hunter sighed contentedly. He hadn't felt so light and peaceful in so many cycles. I want to stay like this forever. That's when he realized he had finally found his reason to not give up, to keep going and complete his mission, and to find a cure for his illness afterwards, the opportunity to live a long and fulfilling life with Survivor. He is my home. The two slug cats stayed like that for a long, silent moment, enjoying each other's company. After a while, Survivor took a deep breath, leaned forward, and gave Hunter a gentle headbutt, nuzzling their heads together. Are you ready? As ready as I'll ever be. Hunter purred. The two slug cats backed off and turned towards the room's exit pipe, standing shoulder to shoulder. Survivor reached out and grabbed hold of Hunter's paw, squeezing it comfortingly. Together, Hunter asked, turning to Survivor with a smile. Together. Survivor responded, smiling happily. Paw in paw, the slug cats continued forward, ready to face down all the dangers the world could throw at them together.